Welcome to a 40-minute lying yoga practice. Coming to lie down on your back, on a yoga mat, carpeted space, or a blanket. And allow yourself to rest in, dropping into this moment in a comfortable position on your back. You may choose to straighten your legs or keep your knees bent. Remembering that whenever we practice, it's always with a compassionate wisdom that affords us the ability to notice what's right for my body today, and then honoring that. So as you rest here on your back, allow the backs of your hands to make contact with the floor, the palms open to the ceiling. Take a breath and exhale. Let yourself sink a little more into the surface you're lying on. Noticing what is there to be noticed in this moment. Body, breath, mind, and just meeting what is, because in fact it's already there. Let your breath be natural. There's no need to modify the breath or do anything fancy. Just breathing. Feeling into this body and how it is today. Now as you're ready, on a breath, begin to take your hands up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, taking them over your head, reaching away. At the same time, stretching your legs and toes away. Nice long stretch. Take a couple of breaths into that. Notice how it feels to be in a stretching body. On your next breath, bringing the hands back up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, take your hands wide. Let the backs of your hands rest on the mat, extending away from you and your shoulders. Slide one foot at a time in towards your buttocks by bending your knees. Take the knees and legs together. And as you exhale, guide your knees over to the right side, keeping the shoulders and arms flat on the floor, finding yourself in a gentle twist. You may like to take your face and gaze to the opposite side from your knees. Breathing into this position, allowing the body to settle into it, and noticing. Inhale, keeping your feet on the floor, simply guide your knees back toward the ceiling, and as you exhale, control them over to the other side, twisting the spine in the opposite direction. And then perhaps choosing to turn your face to the opposite side from your knees. Lying here, resting in this twist. the feet on the floor, guide the knees back up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, taking another nice long stretch. Lengthening the hands away, lengthening the feet away. And breathing. Bringing your hands back up toward the ceiling, and this time down to rest beside your hips, palms on the floor. As you take the next breath, slide one foot at a time towards your buttocks by bending your knees. And then simply straighten your right knee so that your foot lifts directly over your hip. Long leg, heel toward the ceiling. Some sense of a stretch down the back of the leg. Breathe into this position of a stretched hamstring. And now slowly bending the knee, guide that foot back to the floor, resting beside the left foot. And on your next breath, straightening the left knee to take the left foot up toward the ceiling. Lengthening through the back of that leg by gently pushing the heel toward the ceiling. Relax your shoulders and your neck. Let your head and shoulders feel heavy into the mat. And then as you exhale, bending that knee, taking the foot back onto the mat, landing beside the other foot. And as you're ready, on an exhale, lengthening into another long stretch. Hands reaching away, toes reaching away. And perhaps this time, at the same time as you bring your arms through and back down to rest at your hips, you glide one foot at a time back towards your buttocks by bending your knees. And then draw your right knee into your chest. Wrap your hands around your shin and give yourself a hug. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, extend the left leg away, pushing through the heel this time, as if you were standing on the one leg. Now feel length through the back of the neck, shoulders, and back of the head heavy into the mat. Perhaps a gentle tuck of your chin to keep your neck in good alignment. As you breathe, you might explore exhaling, drawing the knee more into the chest and pushing the left foot more away. And then on your own time, placing the right foot back on the floor, drawing the left leg in for the hug. And as you exhale, lengthen the right leg this time away, pushing through the heel and drawing the left leg into the chest in a hug. Resting in the awareness of this position and the sensations that may arise. And then lengthening both legs away and both arms up over the head for that lovely long stretch. A couple of breaths in the stretch. And then bringing the hands back down to rest beside your hips, palms time slides back in toward the pelvis by bending the knees. We'll do a few pelvic rocks and tilts. So it's a very subtle movement. Take a breath, and as you exhale, just begin to lift your pubic bone towards the ceiling. The pelvis actually stays on the floor. It's just a tipping of the pelvis. You could also think of it as the tailbone lengthening away and the small of the back flattening down. And on the next breath, take the pelvis in the opposite direction. So increasing that space underneath the lower back, tucking the tailbone, if you will, and lowering the pubic bone. And just a few of these, gently oscillating the pelvis back and forth, rocking and tilting. And noticing, is this wise for my lower back today? And when you notice whatever comes up, meet it with compassion, kindness, and non-striving. Allow the pelvis to come back to a neutral position, and then lengthen yourself out for another long stretch. Noticing if there is any residue from that particular movement. How does the back, pelvis, and legs feel now? And as you're ready, bringing the hands back to rest down beside the hips and drawing one leg at a time back in by sliding the heels towards you and bending the knees. Take your feet and knees hip-width apart to come into the bridge pose. Begin to tip your pelvis as you did in the rock and tilt. Gently flattening your lower back and beginning right from the pubic bone to lift slowly away from the floor. And then the spine, one vertebra at a time, begins to lift toward the ceiling. It's as if your spine were a strand of pearls resting on the floor, and you're lifting it from the tail end, one pearl at a time, up, until you're resting on your shoulder blades. And you may choose to kind of roll your shoulder blades together and clasp your hands underneath your pelvis. And then breathe a few breaths here into this strong pose. And what do you notice? In the mind, in all the sensations of the body, in the breath, choosing to stay for a few more breaths if you like, or preparing to come back down by opening your hands, releasing the grip, broadening your shoulders, and placing the spine back on the mat in the opposite fashion that it went up. One pearl at a time, from the shoulder blades down through the middle back, lower back, and finally the pelvis resting back on the floor. Notice any effects from that movement. And taking the bridge pose a second time, going up in the same fashion you did before. And this time, perhaps choosing to take your hands underneath as you did before, or rising the hands up toward the ceiling and over your head, lengthening the hands away, breathing here. And as you're ready, guiding the hands back up toward the ceiling, slowly down beside the hips, and then taking the spine back to the mat, one pearl at a time. With the whole back resting on the mat, noticing what is there to be noticed in this moment. And then as you're ready, draw one knee at a time into your chest, wrapping your arms around your shins and gently rocking from side to side. Sort of massage for the back. Remember to have that sense of a lengthened neck, the gentle chin tuck, relaxed shoulders, relaxed face. Take a breath. Stay here or pop your feet up toward the ceiling for a happy baby pose. Taking a hold of your toes or the outer edges of your feet, or your shins or calves, whatever's available. And perhaps choosing to rock or be still as you explore this happy baby pose. From here, rolling over onto your right side, bend your elbow and rest your head on the inside of your arm. Take your top arm, place the hand just in front of the body for a little support so you don't rock back and forth. We're going to do a side leg stretch. You may choose to keep the bottom leg straight, or if you feel quite unsteady, it can be helpful to bend the bottom knee at a right angle, giving you a little more support. And as you're ready, just lifting the top leg straight up and holding it there for a few breaths, noticing what's required of your body to engage in this particular movement. What's required of your body to stay in this particular position. And as you're ready, and with control, guide that leg back down to meet the other leg. Rolling onto your back, hugging your knees one at a time into the chest, rocking back and forth just a couple of times. And then rolling onto your other side. Same movement on the other side. Resting the head on the inside of the arm, using the top hand for support. Choosing to bend or straighten the bottom leg. And as you're ready, raising the top leg up and holding there as you breathe. And where is the mind now? Is there thinking? And if so, what is that thinking? Can you notice the thought stream? Perhaps able to let go, let it be, and come back as you slowly lower that leg back down to meet the other. Now turning onto the front of the body, lying in a prone position. Extend your legs long, front of the hips feeling long, and just slightly turned out, hip width apart with the toes pointing away from each other. Feel your abdominal muscles engage in order to protect your lower back. You can also feel like a sense of lengthening through the lower back, lengthening the tailbone away. Coming into the modified cobra, bend your elbows with your forearms flat on the floor, hands a little bit ahead of the shoulders. As you take your next breath, simply begin to glide your nose along the mat, lifting your face, head, neck, collarbones, and just the upper chest. Take a breath, maybe two, and then gently guiding the body back down, opposite to the way you came up. Lowering chest, collarbones, throat, chin, and face. Resting here for a moment, and then coming up a second time, choosing to use the same modified cobra pose, or perhaps pushing a little further through the hands, straightening the elbows and coming up into full cobra. Taking a breath, noticing the sensations, shoulders away from the ears, and as you exhale your next breath, guide your body back down. Rest on one side of the face. You could take your hands underneath your face for support. And then drawing your hands back on either side of your shoulders, push yourself back up through a table position, and then let your hips glide back to a child's pose. Allowing the lower back to have a little stretch here. And then coming up onto a kneeling position with your hands on the mat underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips for the cat-cow pose. As you take your next inhale, let your belly soften, your tailbone lifting up, and the top of your back lifting. And then as you exhale, arching the back like a cat. Move through a few more of these positions with your own breath's rhythm. Flexing the spine and then lengthening it in the other direction. It's a gentle, waving kind of emotion as you move through cat pose and cow pose. Noticing how the connection of the breath and body movement is for you today. And then when you're ready, sliding back to a child's pose, letting the hips rest back onto the heels, letting the forehead rest down onto the floor. And you could support your forehead with your hands, with a blanket, even rolling up your mat to build up a space to support the head. And now coming back to that table position, what's referred to as the bird dog pose. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, slide your right foot back by straightening your knee, and then using the support of your abdomen, lift that leg off the floor just as far as it feels comfortable for you today. And you may choose to also extend the opposite arm, reaching the fingertips away so that the arm is just parallel with the shoulder and back. Take a breath, and then with control guide the hand and the knee back to the mat. Taking a breath, and this time extend the opposite leg away. Just glide the toe along the floor first, the big toe, and then feeling the support of your abdomen, lifting that leg just as far as it feels okay for your back. And then if you choose, lifting the opposite arm in the same way you did on the other side, reaching away. And taking the hand and the knee back down. And then gliding your hips and pelvis back to a child's pose. And resting here. And as you're ready, beginning with the forehead, lifting your forehead, the rest of your head, and then from the top down, sort of unfolding so that you sit up straight on your knees. And then coming over to sit and supporting yourself as you lie back. Back to the position we began with, where you're resting on your back, with your knees either bent or straight, backs of the hands resting on the floor, palms facing up. And take a few nice breaths here. Noticing what there is to be noticed in this moment after having done these poses. Perhaps some sensations in the body that are quite compelling, drawing your attention. And perhaps not a whole lot going on in the body in this moment, which is also a noticing. And one more time, taking the hands up toward the ceiling, and as you breathe out, lowering them over the head for a nice long stretch. Point your toes, lengthen your legs away, lengthen your arms away, the whole spine and torso feeling long and strong. resting again, backs of the hands on the floor, palms open towards the ceiling, to explore for a few moments the pose of openness. So take your hands a little further away from your hips. So there's a sense of openness underneath the armpits. And take your feet wider. So there's a sense of openness through the lower body as well. You could give a little wiggle to your fingers and toes, allowing them to have some movement, noticing that movement, and then let them rest. Just simply lying here. And being with whatever arises moment to moment. Meeting the moments with curiosity. As if, like a child, noticing for the first time how this feels. What might it be like if I were to meet this moment with openness, open to the possibilities that could unfold? And so, developing this ability to linger, to stay in open-hearted awareness and curiosity. Wise compassion guiding you to stay in this position for another minute, or to modify as you need to. And perhaps noticing some of the more subtle shifts that may take place when we practice mindful movement with breath. Energy levels may be feeling more invigorated or more relaxed, more focused, or a little softer. Always remembering there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. What's already here is here. We pay attention, that's all. And now, if you will, just sliding your hands a little closer to the hips, sliding the feet a little closer to one another, coming into the final pose, the corpse pose. Here we rest in open-hearted awareness and silence, in a more sort of choiceless awareness, just resting and being with. Present with the unfolding of your life, moment by moment, as you rest here in the conclusion of your lying yoga practice. continuing until you hear the sound of the bells.